One dirty little secret I'll say about 100% grass-fed beef labeling is that there's not an easy way to ensure that the grass-fed beef that you're buying has actually been raised eating forages and grazed for its entire lifetime. And because it's a hot trend, a lot of companies want to associate themselves with grass-fed, which alone doesn't have a lot of regulation around it. It is practiced and possible to confine cattle and feed them GMO corn and call it 100% grass-fed beef. How this happens is the USDA doesn't have regulation around how cattle are raised or how they're treated necessarily. What they have regulation around is what is their diet. And so the USDA ends up defining the forage that's allowed to be called grass-fed beef. And in their definition, dried distiller grains, which in the case of an ethanol plant, their byproduct is a dried distiller grain, GMO corn, and lots of it. That's what goes in one end of the ethanol plant. And what comes out the other end is this grain byproduct called dried distiller grain. Well, that's a cheap byproduct that's brought to a feedlot and fed to cattle. So confinement feeding, a GMO corn byproduct, and still meets the definition of a forage. So hence it can be labeled 100% grass-fed beef. Well, for me, when I think about grass-fed beef, or when consumers think about grass-fed beef, I think they really believe that the cattle are out grazing, that they're eating forage, that they're not in a feedlot. I think if people knew the truth, they would be shocked. I think they'd be really disappointed. Where do you turn? Who do you trust? How do you make this wise purchase decision when this type of labeling is going on? Some component that the animals actually stay on the land for their entire life is really important. You don't get all the benefits of grass-fed beef unless the cattle are on the land. That's when you're adding organic matter back to the soil. That's when you're sequestering carbon. That's when you're positively affecting the watershed. That's when you're positively affecting the nutrition density of the product. And then all the things that they haven't been given is really important, like GMO, like antibiotics, like artificial hormones. So we do talk about knowing our no's. And our no's include no grain byproducts, no GMOs, no confinement, no antibiotics, no artificial hormones, and all of that's never ever for the life of the animal. So we take all of our no's and we add on top of that lifetime grazed to make sure that the cattle are on the land and gain all those benefits, and then we have our Thousand Hills lifetime grazed 100% grass-fed beef. And we're certified by the American Grass-Fed Association that all of those claims are true. I think that when a consumer looks at our product and they imagine grass-fed beef, I think our product reflects that to the best ability possible. And that's what we want to deliver on, that promise. You can trust in that. We work hard at that. It's a big deal. I do believe food is medicine, and medicine is food. And it really has to do with positively impacting people. I'm a cancer survivor, so I know nutrition plays a big role. My mom and dad have both survived cancer. My sister's had cancer. So if I feel like our product can play a role in nutritionally improving their life, that's really hits home. The more consumers learn and the more consumers want to make a difference for their own body and for the people around them, the more that benefits our movement. Because then They look a little deeper. They ask more questions. They get the answers they're looking for. They vote with their dollars. Those dollars make a difference.